At 65, still having to work is synonymous with being poor, isn't it? Until that moment, her demeanor had been nothing but cheerful. Yet, as she neared me, a malevolent smirk crept onto her face. A recent addition to the workforce in her 20s, speaking discreetly to avoid others overhearing, cast a judgmental gaze upon me, a part-time worker, and then sauntered off without a word. When conversing with her colleagues, she exudes warmth, making me question if I had misheard her abrupt change in demeanor. Reflecting on our initial interaction, it was undeniably intense. But that was merely the tip of the iceberg. My name is Mara Coleman, a part-time employee at Global Mart, a renowned national supermarket chain. With stores recently proliferating across all 50 states, the branch where I work remains a quaint countryside outpost. Despite its lack of glitz compared to the ever-expanding new locations and its slightly antiquated charm, it fosters a cozy atmosphere, attracting a loyal local clientele. I joined the workforce here in my 20s, shortly after tying the knot. In the past, it resembled more of a quaint general store rather than a sprawling supermarket. As the years passed, the town, its inhabitants, and the store underwent transformations, evolving into a nationwide chain. I temporarily stepped away from work to focus on raising my child, but once my parental responsibilities lightened, my affection for the store drew me back. Now, as the longest-serving member of the team, I find myself meticulously attending to every minor detail. "Oh my, this floor could use a good cleaning," I muttered to myself as I bent down with a rag in hand, ready to scrub away. Suddenly, a voice pierced the silence. "What on earth are you doing crouched there? You're blocking the way." Surprised, I spun around to find a young woman with her hair fashioned into two bunny-like knots, clad in a Global Mart uniform, though unfamiliar to me. As I pondered whether she was a new recruit, she folded her arms and shot me a stern look. "There's no point in doing useless tasks, but cleanliness is crucial for the store. Cleaning a spot that no one sees is just a waste of time, isn't it? Don't you dare talk back to me. You're just a part-timer," she snapped, catching me off guard with her sudden appearance and outburst. Later, our manager introduced me to her, Juliana, a recent graduate who had joined Global Mart that spring and was assigned to our store for initial field training. Juliana greeted the assembled part-time and temporary staff with a beaming smile. "Please be kind to me. I'm determined to work hard." Her cheerful disposition was a stark contrast to her earlier demeanor. Perhaps her earlier harsh words were merely a product of first-day nerves. Lost in thought, I watched as Juliana finished her introductions and made her way over to me. "You're Mara, right? I've heard you're the most experienced person here." "Yes, I've been here for quite some time," I replied. "Well, it's quite obvious you're older," Juliana remarked, her smile vanishing, replaced by a sneer. "Working at 65, one must be in dire straits financially." "Excuse me?" I stammered, taken aback by her unexpected comment. Juliana leaned in close, her words intended for my ears only. Shocked into silence, I watched as she chuckled and returned to the manager's side. Her interaction with the manager mirrored her earlier amiable demeanor. I initially brushed off the sudden shift in her attitude, chalking it up to a misunderstanding. However, whenever Juliana and I found ourselves alone, she would hurl derogatory remarks my way. Once, as I labored to move heavy items, she remarked, "Even at your age, must you subject yourself to such strenuous work for survival?" How pitiable! Though her expression feigned sympathy, her crossed arms and rigid posture betrayed her contempt. On another occasion, upon witnessing me take home some leftover deli food, she sneered, "How destitute! Are you not ashamed?" Her tone dripped with mockery. And yet again, she quipped, "You're not exactly proficient at your job for someone your age. Perhaps you excel more in flattery than in actual salesmanship." Such were her mannerisms, consistently scornful whenever we were alone. However, the wisdom accrued over the years had taught me not to be ruffled by the words of someone young enough to be my daughter. I chose to overlook her behavior and let it slide. However, Juliana appeared to take issue with my approach, and her conduct took a turn for the worse. On a bright, sunny day, I found myself aiding a regular customer who grappled with vision impairment, often requiring assistance in selecting her items. "I'm sorry for the inconvenience," she apologized. "No inconvenience at all. Thank you for choosing us. Take care on your way home." I reassured her, seeing her off with a warm smile. Upon returning inside, I was met with Juliana, her hands planted firmly on her hips. Though her voice was hushed to avoid drawing attention from other customers and staff, her eyes bore a scornful glare. "What were you doing?" she questioned. "I was assisting a customer," I replied. "All that time spent on just one customer? Absurd. Assisting customers in need is a fundamental aspect of our job." "That's such a provincial mindset," Juliana scoffed. "What do you mean?" I inquired. "If you're spending so much time with one customer, you should be focused on making more sales. Can't you grasp that concept? With all due respect, we can't generate sales without prioritizing customer satisfaction," I countered. "Don't argue with me. You're just a part-timer. If you continue to act against the store's interests, you'll be terminated," Juliana retorted before retreating to the back office. I let out a deep sigh as she departed. Frankly, I found it challenging to keep pace with her relentless demands, despite my genuine passion for the job. Juliana's on-site training as a fresh recruit spanned a mere 2 weeks, with one already behind her. Knowing I just had to endure one more week made the situation somewhat bearable. Mentally preparing myself to persevere, I returned to my duties. As the week drew to a close, Juliana's training concluded, and she bid farewell to the store. Before business hours, she greeted the assembled staff with her customary radiant smile. The manager commended her efforts, giving the impression that she had only displayed her positive side to them. Curious, I inquired about Juliana from other colleagues. They described her as somewhat green but affable and cheerful. Perhaps they were more forgiving because she was still in training. It was a shrewd move on her part, I thought to myself. As I stood there, a whirlwind of emotions surged within me, surprise mingled with a begrudging admiration. Juliana sauntered over, her smirk laced with amusement. "I've had a little chat with the manager about you," she declared. "What did you tell him?" I inquired cautiously. "Oh, just a few things about your incompetence," she replied with a dismissive wave. "The manager values my youth and competence over your outdated skills. It's only a matter of time before you're let go. You should consider it a blessing to be rid of this burden." With a gleeful laugh, Juliana departed, leaving me with a mixture of relief and unease. Would her demeanor always be so venomous? Although her training had ended, she would soon be assigned elsewhere, perhaps never to return to this store. The prospect of enduring her presence again filled me with dread. With a heavy heart and a lingering sense of apprehension, I let out a deep sigh. A month had elapsed since Juliana's departure when I found myself standing outside the company's towering headquarters in the city. My nerves fluttered. Visits to headquarters were rare for me. Gazing up at the imposing structure, I took a moment to steady my racing heart. "I can't linger here forever," I muttered to myself, feeling the tug of urgency. With a quick adjustment of my jacket, I hastened inside the building. After completing my task, I realized it was already well past lunchtime. Having missed my meal, I made my way to the employee cafeteria nestled within the premises. Despite the hour, the cafeteria still bustled with activity as I scanned for an empty seat. Just as I settled down to enjoy my pasta, a familiar high-pitched, metallic voice cut through the air. Without needing to turn around, I recognized whose voice it belonged to. "Why is an old lady, you, here at headquarters, Juliana?" "It's been a while," came Juliana's voice, swiftly followed by her boss's presence. She must have caught herself, aware that such a remark wouldn't fare well in front of her superior. Strong-willed against the vulnerable, yet meek in the presence of authority. Perhaps that was Juliana's nature. Suppressing a smile, I replied, "I had a meeting scheduled here today." "A meeting for someone like you? Just a part-timer?" she retorted. "Every perspective from the field holds significance. Don't belittle it." I countered calmly. "The input of a low-level part-timer like you isn't required." Juliana shot back. "Are you out of your mind?" she began, her voice initially restrained but escalating as she continued. Oblivious to her boss's shocked expression and my own, Juliana continued her tirade. Are you even listening? I detest women like you who persist in working into old age. I find fulfillment in my work, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, even at my age, I asserted. Juliana's response was swift and disdainful. It's repulsive. Spare me the sight of your pathetic existence. Listen here. There's this person from my training, utterly useless, yet refuses to leave. She's dragging down the store. She should be terminated, Juliana continued, her disdain evident. Intervening before Juliana could say more, her boss stepped in. At that moment, the cafeteria's entrance hummed with activity as an elderly gentleman approached us. Juliana's boss straightened up, but Juliana's expression soured as she glared at him. What's all the fuss about? Who are you? And what do you want? The elderly gentleman inquired. It appears I've arrived at an opportune moment, Marcia, he remarked. Indeed, left unchecked, this situation could tarnish the company's reputation. That's a serious concern, Marcia replied. Don't ignore me and start talking, the elderly man pressed on. Wait, do you even realize who this is? I interjected. You should have heard him speak at the orientation, Juliana. Another voice chimed in. Juliana's expression shifted to one of confusion as she glanced at the man beside her. Suddenly, a wave of realization washed over her, and her complexion paled. It dawned on her who the man standing next to her truly was. Bert Coleman, the president of Global Market. Are you a recent hire? What's your name? Bert inquired. Her name is Juliana Bert, the other person replied. Why are you addressing the president by his first name? I questioned. She's my wife. It's only natural for her to call me by my name, Bert clarified. Huh? Juliana's eyes darted between me and Bert, her confusion palpable. Meanwhile, Juliana's boss buried his face in his hands. I rose from my seat and positioned myself beside Bert. Allow me to reintroduce myself. Mara Coleman, 65, wife of the president of Global Mart. I introduced myself. You're kidding, right? If you're married to the president, why are you slumming it as a part-timer in some dingy supermarket? Juliana retorted. As I said, I genuinely enjoy working. Global Mart began as a humble venture that Bert and I launched together. As it flourished, he assumed the role of president. However, I've always cherished a direct connection with customers, hence my decision to continue working part-time. Interestingly, aside from the manager, nobody at my workplace is aware of my relationship with the president. That dingy store you mentioned happens to be the very first Global Mart branch, the cherished establishment Bert and I initiated. So, the meeting wasn't a ruse. Mara attends these gatherings monthly as a representative from the field. It's been a while since she's been physically present. They've mostly been conducted online lately, Juliana's boss clarified. That's correct. Hence, I was feeling a bit apprehensive today, I added. That's preposterous, Juliana interjected. What's preposterous? I inquired. If I had known you were the president's wife, I wouldn't have acted the way I did. You deceived me, Juliana accused, her face flushed with anger, seemingly on the verge of confrontation. However, her boss stepped in front of me, serving as a buffer. It was Bert who addressed Juliana next. I've heard about you from Mara, but forming judgments solely based on hearsay is hardly fair. I wanted to assess the situation firsthand. Now let's not escalate matters. What? I overheard your conversation with Mara earlier. It seems you're not a good fit for our company, Juliana countered, her tone defiant. Please hold on. There's been a misunderstanding, I interjected. Indeed, it's all just a misunderstanding. Allow me to clarify. We can call the manager from the training store. He can attest to my dedication and performance, I proposed. I've already spoken with the manager, Juliana's boss revealed. He was well aware of your actions behind the scenes. I requested him to stay quiet about it, given your status as a trainee. From the outset, I have reported Juliana's misconduct to the manager, aiming to shield other staff members from its effects. However, in the hope that she might amend her behavior as a new employee, We refrained from taking immediate action. Unfortunately, it appears that hope was misplaced. As I elucidated the situation, Juliana appeared utterly dumbfounded, her mouth gaping open and closed like a fish out of water. I offered her a sympathetic smile. Those who jeopardize the store's well-being inevitably face consequences, don't they? With a flush creeping up her cheeks, Juliana wordlessly sank into her seat. Her boss extended profuse apologies to us before escorting the deflated Juliana away. Subsequent investigation revealed that she was a relative of the HR manager and had secured her position through illicit means. Apparently, Juliana, desperate in her job search, had resorted to offering money to the HR manager, dipping into her parents' retirement savings. Upon discovering the truth, her parents were incensed, disowning her and ejecting her from their home. Thus, she found herself not only jobless but also homeless. Yet, with her knack for charming others and her resilience, she'd likely find her footing elsewhere, perhaps even in a nocturnal occupation. I could only hope that she wouldn't fall prey to unsavory influences. Meanwhile, Bert appeared somewhat disheartened, grappling with the revelation of an employee's misconduct, pondering whether it stemmed from the company's expansion. I offered him reassurance. Let's return to our roots and collaborate at the store once more. Bert's face brightened with a smile. That sounds perfect, he responded. Working in the store is my very essence. It's akin to nurturing our own offspring from its inception. I aspire to remain there perpetually, always wearing a smile.